And we're back. So the bread I'm making today is very loosely based on the Joy of Cooking French bread recipe. Joy of Cooking, the only book you need. That and Sundays at Moose would cover you for a lot of good stuff. Anyway, this has all the classics. So what I did was I scalded a cup of milk. Their recipe says half cup of milk and a cup of water. I did a cup of milk and a half cup of water. Scalding it, boiling it basically until it gets foamy. Not boiling, but heating it up, stirring it carefully so the milk doesn't burn on the bottom. It got nice and frothy and foamy. That's how I knew it was scalding. I'm letting it cool now with the water. Add a tablespoon of sugar. And again, I'm not going in the order the recipe is because I already have a bit of a sponge started. They would have you cool this and add the yeast to start the yeast growing in there. Tablespoon of sugar, tablespoon and a half of shortening. So I'm just going to eyeball that by making it a round tablespoon. And those are going to melt right into the hot milk. And because I already have this sponge started, I'm going to take that mixture when it cools down to nice wrist temperature. They suggest about 85 degrees, which is cooler than wrist temperature, to start mixing that in with my sponge. So when you combine that, there's going to be 2 more teaspoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, and again, in their recipe, it's 4 cups all-purpose flour. What I'm going to do is, having made the recipe before, I know what texture I'm looking for. So given the amount of liquid involved, I'm going to just keep adding flour until I have a nice, sticky, you would barely call it dough. Like if you've ever made biscuits, it's like a biscuit dough, but even softer and stickier. And that will be the story. And then that will rise for a few hours. So over here, we're melting the sugar, the fat, the liquids. We're going to let them cool down until it's safe. The problem is, if you don't let them cool down enough and you dump them in here with the yeast, you're committing yeasticide. All the yeast will die. So be kind to